to this video. This was a video requested from a viewer of mine who wanted me to make another video where I just talk about my CD collection. So that is what I'm doing, and then I decided to dress up because I like dressing up. I have a monitor, right? See, this is where that is, right over here. So if my eyes keep darting that way, it's because I'm looking here. Actually, I'm going to drop that down. There we go. Now I won't look at it anyways. But let's get started on the albums. Start out with, we have this Trans-Siberian Orchestra. I'm not sure which album it is. Christmas Attic or something. One moment. EA decided to open up. I need to make sure that's not going to mess up the video. Nope. Good. Okay, anyways. So, I've got Trans-Siberian Orchestra. I got this album for $1 from McKay's bookstore. I get a lot of my albums from McKay's, honestly. They have a bunch of cheap albums there that you can buy. They have a whole section for albums that are $1 and under. So sometimes when my mom goes up there, I'll go with her and then I'll just buy cheap albums. Let me adjust my tie really quick. I felt like dressing up today. I don't know why I never get to do it. So I figured that I'd dress up some, that it'd be fun. Anyway, so Trans-Siberian Orchestra. They are a symphonic metal band, so they've got like all of the chuggy metal stuff, but then they've also got things like strings and all of those fancy orchestral elements, choirs and all of that stuff. It's very interesting to listen to. Next up, we've got REM, Automatic for the People. I really like REM a lot. They are a 80s college rock band, and they're a very interesting group overall. They released a lot of fascinating songs, and they are just they're not exactly full-blown strange like some of the alternative music can be. But they're not fully normal either. They're like the perfect crossing over point from being just a typical top 40 listener in the 80s who was listening to Duran Duran and Bon Jovi. REM are kind of like the perfect crossing point from being that type of person to being the type of person who was listening to the early Red Hot Chili Peppers and the Pixies and Replacements and stuff. And this one features a couple of my favorite REM songs. It's got, let's see, where are they? It's got Drive. It's got the legendary Everybody Hurts. Although, honestly, I don't really like that song as much as other people seem to like it. I'm not sure, just the song about Everybody Hurts, it's not as poetic as I'd like it to be. And then they've got Man on the Moon. It's arguably my favorite REM song. Next up, I've got Stevie Ray Vaughan and Double Trouble, the greatest hits. Stevie Ray Vaughan was a blues guitarist and singer. He was very talented at both, a very good singer and very good guitarist. And this is his greatest hits with his backing band, Double Trouble. So a few of the songs it has on it are Taxman, Texas Flood, his most famous song, Pride and Joy, Little Wing. Yep, just his biggest hits, basically. But I mean, he's such a good guitar player. He combines the blues with jazz chords and then sort of almost like modern Japanese rock distortion on it to make this very interesting sound. It is a very unique listen if you are into hard rock or blues rock, though if you're into those, odds are you have listened to Stevie Ray Vaughan. Next up, we've got Green, REM. This This is the fourth album I got from my latest trip to get albums. This features Pop Song 89 and Orange Crush. Those are kind of the two biggest songs on the album. This album was, I think this was their first album to really start to get big. Excuse me. Kind of put them on the trajectory that would lead to just their massive explosion in the early 90s. Right now, these are albums that I've had for a while. I did not get these on my last trip. Got Iron Maiden, The Number of the Beast. Iron Maiden are, in my opinion, the best straight up heavy metal band. You know, if you just want straight chuggy heavy riffs and people singing songs about history, Iron Maiden are definitely the band for you. They have very good, what I'm trying to say is they are very good for what they are. You know, they know that they're just a somewhat standard metal band. You know, they're not doing anything that hasn't been done before. They based a lot of their music off of what Thin Lizzy and early Judas Priest albums were like. But in my opinion, they do that sound the best. And this, Bruce Dickinson, their lead singer, that man can sing. He is one of the greatest singers, not in just metal or rock, but in music entirely. He is able to sing so insanely high for long periods of time without even caring. Like, I looked at his vocal range or something, and it's from like the 4th to the 6th octave or something like that. You know, that's his belting range, 4th to 6th octave or something. I don't fully remember. I'll have to look back over it. I could just be making stuff up. But yeah, he is able to sing incredibly highly. And this album features some of their biggest songs like The Number of the Beast, Run to the Hills, and in my opinion, the best heavy metal ballad, Hallowed Be Thy Name. Just very good songs on there. Also, just a little tip, not tips, or just little, fun fact for people who don't listen to Iron Maiden. Most of the time, they are better history teachers than the history teacher you had in high school. So, yep, if you are trying to, what I'm trying to say, sorry, I can't speak. What I'm trying to say is if you are interested in history, just go listen to Iron Maiden. Odds are you'll find the song about whatever topic it is you're interested in. Next up, I have the Best of the Cars, the little 80s new wave and power pop band. Personally, the Cars, I haven't listened to them as much as I probably should. I like some of their songs, but I've never sat down and done a full discography listen to yet. Here's a little inside of it. Here's the band themselves. So I've never sat down and gone through their discography like I have for some bands, but I know some of their big hits. And this one has Just What I Needed, You Might Think, My Best Friend's Girl, Moving in Stereo. I've heard that one as well. Yep, I've got the Best of the Cars right here, which is I need to listen to the entire album, but for the most part, I just buy albums that I just want to own, even if I don't listen to them. I just like to own albums, you know, I collect them. Vinyls are too expensive for me to collect. I only have 2, right over here actually, I'll show them off in a moment. I only have 2 vinyls, but I like to collect CDs. For my vinyls, I've got Kiss Destroyer, the exclusive Walmart version. My friend Michael the Shredder Jordan gave me this. Yep, I went through this big phase where I was really into Kiss. And so yep, he ended up giving me this. Look at the background. That shows like a Sorry, the light's kind of messing it up. Here, hold on one moment. I'm just gonna go shut off. No, don't you dare fall over. I'm gonna go shut off the light really quick, and I'm gonna put my sister's old guitar up. Yep, that's better. I should have done that earlier. Anyways, so we've got Kiss Destroyer, which is sort of the first album. Yeah, that's better. Trying to get it to an angle where it's not. There we go. That's. Yep, I've got that. And then the second one I have is Master of Puppets by Metallica. Sorry, now the screen's getting on it. There we go. Those are my two vinyls. I haven't even opened them yet. I'm just planning on keeping them like that, just sort of wrapped up and safe for as long as I can. I'm not even planning on getting a vinyl player just because of how expensive vinyls are. I'm not sure if you know this, but recently vinyls have been going up in price. More and more people have started to collect vinyls, kind of like what I'm doing CDs. So I started to collect CDs because I figured, you know what, if we're going to go back, through vinyls, we're already back to collecting vinyls. CDs are probably going to be the next thing in a decade or two. And if I have a large CD collection of classic CDs, imagine how much money I'll be able to get for them. Next up, we've got AC/DC Back in Black. This was actually the first album I ever bought. I remember I was with my grandmother on my mom's side, and she drove me and my sister to a McKay's bookstore to look for, I think it was piano books or something, as we had just gotten a piano, and she was looking for piano books to teach us piano with. And while we were there, she told me, "Hey Troy, I know you're getting into music recently. Why don't you go pick out a couple of albums and then I'll buy them for you?" So I picked this one out. There's another album. Oh, here it is. I'll show it off next. I got this album. I got the one I'm about to show, and I don't remember what the third one was. Maybe it was just these two. Yep, there's that. Next up, this is the other album that I remember getting that day. The Greatest Hits of Bon Jovi. I used to be a giant Bon Jovi fan. I loved Bon Jovi. Richie Sambora was my favorite guitar player for a long, long time. He was the reason I started to play it, actually. And then I really liked Bon Jovi, so I got their Greatest Hits Ultimate Collection. It's got 28 songs on there. A few big ones are Living on a Prayer, You Give Love a Bad Name, It's My Life, Wanted Dead or Alive, Bad Medicine, I'll Be There For You, Born to Be My Baby, Blaze of Glory, Always, Runaway, Keep the Faith, Bed of Roses. And those are sort of the big hits, I guess, that were on it. Yeah, it was, I used to adore Bon Jovi so much. I had a Bon Jovi shirt. I wanted to be John Bon Jovi. Originally, what I wanted to do was to actually be a lead singer in a band, but I was never good enough to be a singer. So I decided, you know what, if I'm going to be the singer, but I'm not good enough to just solely sing, I should learn to play guitar so that I can at least provide two things, because my theory was I didn't want to be a burden on whatever band I was in. So if I was going to be a poor singer, I might as well learn the guitar, so that way, the band doesn't have to worry about getting an extra guitarist because I can handle both, sort of thing. I'm trying to think of how to word it, but I can't really, but was trying to avoid being a burden, so I started to play the guitar. Originally, I was playing the guitar because I wanted to play it in a band while singing. I kind of wanted to be like the lead guitarist who also handles the vocals, sort of thing. So combine Richie Sambora and John Bon Jovi's roles. But then I started to get better and better at guitar. I started to practice it more, like it more than singing. And it ended up with me becoming a mostly guitarist who just kind of sings for fun. Next up, I've got Mothership by Led Zeppelin. I bought this album used from this used CD store near my house for $7. And at the time, it was, I'm not kidding, $20 on Amazon. It's got 24 Led Zeppelin songs on there. It's got Good Times, Bad Times, Communication Breakdown, Dazed and Confused, Babe, I'm Gonna Leave You, Whole Lotta Love, Ramble On, Heartbreaker, Immigrant Song, Rock and Roll, Black Dog, When the Levee Breaks, Stairway to Heaven, The Song Remains the Same, Dire Maker, House of the Holy, Kashmir, Achilles' Last Stand, All My Love. Like, nearly every song on this album is some sort of big hit, which just shows how incredible Zeppelin were back in the day, I believe. I actually once did the Step-a-thon, where in a 24-hour period you listen to every Led Zeppelin album. I should make a video going over that. Yep, I've got that. Next up, I've got Metallica and Justice for All, the CD. It's a little picture of the inside. And Justice for All was Metallica's last album before they sold out, in my opinion. And Justice for All was the weakest of their big three thrash albums, consisting of Ride the Lightning, Master of Puppets, and Justice. It didn't really stick with me like the other two albums did. You know, it was better than their debut, mainly because, well, you know, their debut was almost more of a punk album, really. It was very low quality. This one, it was, what's the word? The production on And Justice was awful as well. But it was a different kind of awful. It wasn't like lo-fi, just not knowing what you're doing awful. It was just like we don't want to put effort into this awful, if that makes sense. But I need to go over some songs on there. It's got Blackened, it's got the title track, it's got One, which is like their most famous song off of it. It's got Harvester of Sorrow, and it's got The Frayed Ends of Sanity. Metallica were very big on giving songs these dramatic names back then. Next up, we've got Ride the Lightning, their second album. Ride the Lightning personally has my favorite Metallica guitar tones and production off of any Metallica album. It's very crisp, and the production matches the album cover. Very icy, very crisp. And it sounds very good in my opinion. So this has got Ride the Lightning, For Whom the Bells Toll, Fade to Black, Creeping Death, and The Call of Cthulhu are probably the 5 biggest songs off of it. I really like that album a lot. I remember when I first heard Fade to Black, I was convinced that was not Metallica. I was convinced, okay, this is some other 80s hair metal band. No, Metallica aren't hair metal, they're thrash metal. This is some 80s hair metal band, because there's no way Metallica can make a ballad this beautiful and this haunting. So I was driving, I remember it distinctly. I had just gotten out of a doctor's appointment for something. I think it was for my ear. And I was driving back home listening to the local hard rock radio station, as this was back when I was still trying to use radio while I drive so that I wouldn't constantly be on my phone. Like, I don't want this song, I want this one while driving. And they started playing this ballad. And at first I thought, okay, this sounds nice. I wonder what this is. So I went and then I got out my phone and I have I had, what was it called? Some app, I don't remember its name, had a shot in it. And I used it to determine what the song was. And it was like, this is Fade to Black by Metallica. And I remember thinking, there's no way this is Metallica. Metallica could not write a ballad this pretty. This must be somebody else. So I got home and then I went and looked up Fade to Black by Metallica, listened to it, and it was the same song. Next up, we've got Master of Puppets. Master of Puppets is probably Metallica's highest quality album overall. It's got so many good songs on it. Personally, I prefer the guitar production and tuning on Ride the Lightning. I wish they took that production and that tone over to Master of Puppets, and then Master of Puppets would be a perfect album. It's got Battery, it's got the title track, which, if you want to know what true heavy metal is, go listen to the full Master of Puppets song. It's amazing. It's got Welcome Home Sanitarium, it's got Disposable Heroes, Orion, and Damage Incorporated. Looking at this, the shortest song on the album is 5 minutes and 12 seconds, and yet somehow none of these songs are boring. That's what truly makes it so impressive. Like, how do you make an album of songs, 8 songs, each of which are above 5 minutes in length, without making them sound boring or tedious? But Metallica pulled it off. Next up, I've got the entire David Lee Roth era of Van Halen, the best era of Van Halen. Sammy Hagar sucks. Sammy, if you've somehow watched this, just go fuck yourself. Your giant ego. David Lee Roth was Van Halen. And this has got their title track, their debut album, not title track, their debut album, Van Halen. It's got Van Halen 2, which is their second album. It's got Women and Children First, which is their third. Fair Warning, their fourth album. Diver Down, their fifth. And then 1984, their sixth album. So I'll show you the album covers really quick. Here's their debut. So you can see there's David Lee Roth. There's Eddie Van Halen, the guitarist. David Lee Roth is the singer. There's Michael Anthony, the bass player, and then Alex Van Halen, the drummer, and Eddie's older brother. And here's Van Halen 2. Here's Women and Children First. Here's the back, so you can see all the band members. Here is Fair Warnings. Diver Down. And finally, 1984. So, I've got those four. I've got all of those albums. And it's got every single song off of them all. So I'll just go through some of the big hits. It's got Running with the Devil, Eruption, You Really Got Me, Ain't Talking About Love. It's got Beautiful Girls. It's got Spanish Fly and The Cradle Will Rock. It's got Mean Street, Unchained, Where Have All the Good Times Gone, Oh Pretty Woman, Dancing in the Street. And then, of course, it's got Jump, Panama, and it's got Hot for Teacher. It's got every single Van Halen song from their David Lee Roth era. It was only like $15 on Amazon as well. My mom got it for me for Christmas. So I remember she came to me several times and was like, "Are you sure you want Van Halen? You know, I can get you something else." And then I told her, "No, this is every single David Lee Roth Van Halen album." If it was just one Van Halen album, yeah, I'd probably pass it up for something else, as I'm not one of those Eddie Van Halen fanboys who wants to be Eddie Van Halen. I'm more into alt rock, but all six Van Halen albums, their six best albums for $15, like that's a good deal. Here is another album I have, the Jesus and Mary Chain Dark Lands. This album is my favorite Jesus, and I'm trying to get a good angle of it for you. Sorry, no, there we go. This is my favorite Jesus and Mary Chain's album. The Jesus and Mary Chain they're a noise rock and noise pop band from the 80s. They helped to bring about the rise of dream pop and shoegaze. And this album is my favorite of theirs. It's got Dark Lands, it's got Happy When It Rains, and it's got April Skies. Those are probably the biggest songs off the album. I just really like there we go. I really like this album cover as well. There's something about it that I really like. Next up, we've got Wish by The Cure. It's not The Cure's best album, but it's the last album of their golden period. Here's the inside of it. I love the artwork for the album itself. Look at that. The Wish. Let's see, does it have the track listing on it? I don't remember the songs off the top of my head. It's been so long since I've listened to The Cure. I should listen to them again. But I know it's got, what was it? A Letter for Release is on here. And I know that there's Friday I'm in Love. Okay, let's see. Aha, here it is. It's got Open. It's got High. It's got From the Edge of the Deep Green Sea. It's got Windy Time. Doing the Unstuck. Friday I'm in Love. Trust, A Letter to Elise. Cut, and To Wish Impossible Things, and End. Those are the songs off of it. I bought this album while I was up in Pigeon Forge. I went to this local record shop and I wanted to buy an album. So I went there and I went inside, and I remember that my mom... I remember what happened. My mom, my sister, my brother, and I all went up the Pigeon Forge, and my mom was like, okay, Troy, there is a album store, there's a CD store somewhere here in this mall. You can go off and find it, and then you can just come find us after. So I found the CD store, and originally I was looking for Loveless by My Bloody Valentine. That's like a top 5 greatest albums of all time for me. I was looking for Loveless, but I couldn't find it. So instead I found that Cure album, and it was overpriced. It was like $10-15. I think it was $15. But I figured, you know what? I'm on vacation, so I'm going to buy it. I'm going to indulge myself in buying something that's not very cheap for once. Next up, I've got Grace by Jeff Buckley. This is Jeff Buckley's only official solo album. Very sad that he passed away. He could have done so much more. But still, it's got Mojo Pen, it's got Grace, it's got Last Goodbye, Lilac Wine, So Real, Hallelujah, Lover, You Should Have Come Over, and a couple of others. It is filled with so much good songwriting. Jeff Buckley didn't use simple like C major, E minor, D major chords. He loved to use fancy, complex jazz chords. It just makes it so much deeper and richer and much more fulfilling experience to listen to. You know, it's not da 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 like you hear in every other song. It's so much more complex and rhythmically just stimulating, I guess. Next up, I've got the original album series of Stone Temple Pilots. This has got all 5 of their original albums. No, don't fall. There we go. It's got Core, which has Dead and Bloated, Sex Type Thing, Creep, Plot, and Plush, which it's also their debut. There, okay, go down there. Here we go. Yep, it's got Core, and then it's got, how do I not remember the other album's names? It's been so long. Damn it. Tiny Music, number 4, Shangri-La. But how do I not remember the second album name? Well, this is embarrassing. I thought I knew all of Stone Temple Pilots' albums, but I guess I don't. Let me pull this out. Maybe it has the name on the CD. Purple. I am an idiot. So we've got Purple. Purple, which has on it, the biggest songs on it are Vaseline, Interstate Love Song, and Big Empty. And Tiny Music from a Vatican Gift Shop, probably my favorite STP album. It's got Pop's Love Suicide, Big Bang Baby, And So I Know, Trippin' on a Hole in a Paper Heart, Art School Girl, Ride the Cliche. It's probably my favorite album. Is the first STP album was clearly based around grunge and sludge metal. You know, they were clearly trying to sort of combine Soundgarden and Alice in Chains with their more sort of alternative, honestly, almost like, it's not really a genre, but almost like highway rock music. You know, it's like country music, kind of, in the fact that you can imagine listening to it while driving down a highway. First of all, unlike country music, it was good. And second of all, they actually could write good songs. Like, they were very good songwriters. But it's kind of like that, sort of has the same sort of vibe in that you'd imagine it would be played in a car driving down Route 66 or something. So their first album was kind of combining the heavy distortion and sludge of Alice in Chains and Soundgarden with the more sort of alternative rock, experimental, complex songwriting that they would have on their later albums. Purple is kind of the shift into the more highway rock sound. And then they did a complete left turn with music from a Vatican gift, Tiny Music from a Vatican Gift Shop, where they went on to combine jazz with power pop. It's such a good album. And then number 4 came out. It was their 4th album. It's got Down, Heaven and Hot Rods, and Sour Girl. Honestly, after Tiny Music from a Vatican Gift Shops, STP kind of fell off. And then, of course, there's Shangri-La, which was another fall-off album. It's got Dumb Love, Hollywood Bitch, Too Cool Queenie, Bipolar Bear. Yeah. Number 4 was honestly sort of almost like a progenitor to nu metal. It was very aggressive and very fast and very heavy in a way that reminds me a lot of nu metal. And then Shangri-La was mostly acoustic tracks, which just, I can handle a couple acoustic tracks, even acoustic albums, but they can't all be slow acoustic tracks. They have to have some variety in them. Just the main reason I don't like that album. Shangri-La, there's that. We've got Arcade Fire, Neon Bible. I was so happy when I found this. Like, look at how cool this CD is. look at that. And then you open it up. And look, this is what it comes in. This little black package thing that looks like it's tearing and withering itself away, but it's not. And it's got all of these things with it as well. It's got this little booklet with like the lyrics and pictures and stuff. And look at this. It's got this little flip book that you flip through. It's kind of hard to do it facing the wrong way, and I've never been good at these. But you flip through it, and then it's like an animation of the book opening. And then it's got this, which is filled with these. I'm not sure what these are pictures of, to be honest. It's got that. It's so cool. Like this, legitimately, I was insanely happy when I saw this. It's just so cool. And all this for just $3. Like, $3. I get that a lot of people don't know who Arcade Fire are, but come on, $3 for one of the best bands of the 2000s indie scene's best album. I've also got the original Broadway cast recording of Les Mis. I mainly got this for my mom. She adores Broadway music. I saw this and I was like, you know what? It's $1. Why not buy it for her? So I bought it for her. And then she's like, I don't really want it. So I just kept it. I should put this over here, actually, see if it'll fit. Come on, fit. There we go. I've got Fleetwood Mac's Rumors, which is like their biggest album. It's got Dreams, Go Your Own Way, and The Chain on it. So a very solid album. And it was probably most famous for being the album they recorded after. Oh, I should show the back. After all of the inner band drama. It's essentially, to sum it up, everybody in Fleetwood Mac was dating everybody else in Fleetwood Mac. And then they all started to fight and break up and then date the other people again. And it was just a whole mess. And then the band was made up of 3 different songwriters. You have the guitarist, he was a songwriter. And then you have lead singer Stevie Nicks, who was a songwriter. And then their keyboard player, I don't remember her name, but she was also writing songs. And all 3 of them started to write diss tracks about each other on the album. And then they made each other sing the diss tracks, and it was so funny. But Lindsey Buckingham, the guitarist, he probably wrote the best one with Go Your Own Way. Next up, we've got Origin of Symmetry by Muse. This is my favorite Muse album. Really, Muse, their first album is a bit of a Radiohead knockoff album. But then they went on into this very interesting direction with Origin of Symmetry, their second album. It's on their debut, they were essentially being like kind of a cross between Radiohead and Nirvana. But then on their second album, they completely went in an opposite direction and almost became like a kind of skate punk alternative jazzy group. Like, it's very fascinating. I've never heard anything that is like Muse's second album, Origin of Symmetry. It shares far more in common with Japanese J-rock music than it does with anything here in the West. Just fascinating. It's got Newborn, it's got Bliss, Space Dementia, Hyper Music, Plug-in Baby, Feeling Good, Megalomania, and a couple of others. Like, every song on this album is an absolute banger. You've got to listen to it if you haven't yet. What's this? Alright, and then I've got The Best of Mozart. I bought this to be cultured, and it was only 25 cents. Not really a lot to talk about there. My favorite classical composer is Chopin, but they didn't have that, so I got Mozart. Then I've got all of these things sank by the Lemonheads. The Lemonheads were a alternative rock band from the 90s, late 80s and early 90s. They were kind of following in the footsteps of the Replacements and the Cars. So I've got that. There's not really a lot to talk about with that album, though. It's pretty basic 4-chord power pop songs. Next up, we've got Velvet Revolver's debut album, Contraband. I'm trying to get it. There we go. Velvet Revolver was a supergroup that was made up of the members of Guns N' Roses. So they got Matt, they got Slash, and then they got, what's his name? Got Matt Sorum, Duff McKagan, and Slash. That was it. It was made up of those three, and then they got Scott Weiland to come in and sing lead vocals. And I don't remember the name of their rhythm guitarist, but it was those five. And they were kind of like Guns N' Roses meet Stone Temple Pilots. It was a very interesting sound. It features Sucker Train Blues, Do It For The Kids, Big Machine, Fall to Pieces, Sliver. Lots of... If you just want to put on a hard rock album to just rock out to, this is a good option. You know, there are albums with more depth and more complex songwriting out there, but if you just want something that's a decent pick. I've got Born to Run by Bruce Springsteen. So, I mean, this is one of the albums where if you are a music fan, you've got to have it in your collection. The big songs on it are Thunder Road and Born to Run. Yeah, I'll do a couple of more and then I'll stop. I've got The Best of Blondie, the old sort of what was it? They weren't really new wave. They weren't really punky either. They were a very weird group, but I guess the best way to describe them would probably be new wave. So this features their biggest songs, One Way or Another, and then Call Me. It's a fun album if you're into 80s new wave and Blondie. And then I've got, which one is this? REO Speedwagon's Greatest Hits. Somebody forgot to include the booklet. It's got all the big hits from REO Speedwagon, the 80s arena rock band. And then there's NXS Kick, which features a lot of NXS songs on it. There's 12 songs and then 4 bonus tracks on here. It was NXS was another 1980s new wave band, but they were very good. They were a very good band. I definitely recommend listening to them if you just want some fun 80s funky new wave. Right, well that's where I'm going to end this video off. I've still got a lot of albums to go through, so I'll record another one later. Thank you for watching, and there we go. Thank you for watching, and goodbye.